Okay,
I am fine, sir.
Taking care of you?
He always does.
the Streets, Traffic and Refuse Committee will be called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Conway,
Present.
Alderman Moore,
Here.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Here.
Alderman Kotar,
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Here.
Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd.
Present.
6 present, you have a quorum.
Okay, board bill we're taking up right now is board bill number 59, sponsored by Alderman Conway.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. First, I would like to introduce amendment number 1. I know that there's 2 of them marked, amendment number 1. We'll do the second one as amendment number 2. The 3-page one we'll do as amendment number 1.
Oh, wait, you gotta pass it out.
We don't have it yet.
Okay. And I would move that we adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill 59.
Probably should talk about it.
For discussion, you're saying, but.
Oh, for discussion.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Adopted for discussion.
Okay, there's a motion to amend board bill to adopt amendment number 1 to board bill 59 for
Second.
discussion. It's been moved in second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Conway,
Aye.
Alderman Moore,
Pass.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd.
Aye.
5 aye votes. Alderman Moore, your vote was
Present.
present? Okay.
And then I would like Mr. Todd Walterman
One
to walk
present.
us through the changes on amendment number 1. Briefly.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. The basic part of the change is so that we appropriate the funds. The budget that you're gonna be working on the rest of the week did not put any of these funds forward. Therefore, if this bill would pass, we would not be able to expend these funds and move forward with getting new trash trucks and fixing our trash task force. So that's the gist of this change, is to allow us, when this board bill's approved, the rate increase will go in place, but it'll allow this FY18, these funds to be expended. And it's that simple.
All right, and then I would next call Officer John McLaughlin. We'd asked at our last meeting for an idea of how the trash task force might work and how the cameras work.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That's Sergeant McLaughlin, I'm sorry.
First, I want to give you a little brief, very quick history of how I'm involved in the trash task force. And I hate to use the word trash task force now, as it was in the past, is because I only have one person that's fully working the trash task force. So one person, one full-time person that is responsible for all these complaints. I was given this task in November of last year, and it was non-existent for about 13 to 14 months. So all those complaints that went to CSB, we are tasked with cleaning those up, investigating those complaints. So we're underwater with a lot of the complaints. So by looking at what we had and what I can move forward with, I believe that we can do a better job with one full-time person that would work the trash task force, and work with 3 additional persons that would be on a part-time basis or overtime basis. I brought in Luther Hall and Lewis Nays. They're going to talk about the new cameras and the cost of the cameras. The cameras that we presently have now, the technology is gotten to the point where we can't upgrade them and they're not useful anymore. So we got cameras that we can retrofit with the old shells. And Luther, you want to show everybody what the cameras look like and the
So
cost?
currently, the cameras we have now are.
Here, come on, Luther, come on over here. And while he's coming over here, would you tell me how we would actually bust someone illegally dumping a whole truck bed full of roof shingles I mean, how do we normally envision that working?
Well, maybe with the cameras, you have to have first off, you have to have either physical evidence or evidence from a witness. And normally when we get that evidence from a witness or person, that would be through the Citizen Service Bureau or through 911. Somebody that would come forward and say, hey, I observed this colored truck with this license plate, or I know who was driving this truck, or what, and dumped these items in the alley. So we need that type of information before we can move forward with an arrest. So these cameras are gonna be able to help us begin that investigation if we catch a plate or catch a person's identity in, with regards to the, you have to triage each call.
Right. All right, thank you. Luther, have a seat. Relax. We're a friendly lot, some days.
So currently, the camera we're using now is a Q-Star camera. It's a company out of Springfield, Missouri. The city owns roughly a little over 100 of these cameras, and I think they were cost somewhere between $5,000 to $6,000 a piece. And basically, I'll pull one apart so you can see what this is. This is kind of a homemade camera. There's a Kodak point-and-shoot camera mounted inside of here on a circuit board with an external motion detector and an old halogen flash. So when there's movement in front of it, the camera turns on, takes 2 or 3 pictures, and goes into a sleep mode is basically what the camera's been doing. What we found is that the circuit boards are starting to go out on these. They're, how old are these?
2010, we purchased most of them.
Okay, so they're 7 going on 8 years old. The flashes are hard to get. They're very expensive. They're, I think, somewhere around $100 to $150 to replace the flash. The cameras are going out. The batteries are dying, so we've been purchasing batteries and chargers and still having issues with those. The other limitation of this camera is it's solar powered. So if we have 2 or 3 days of cloudy weather, a lot of times the cameras will reset, and once the camera resets, it will no longer work. So we have to physically go up in a truck, pull the camera down, and replace it, or manually reset the camera and put a fresh battery in it. So we've been having issues.
How long do the batteries last?
Well, if you have constant, or not constant sunlight, but if you have a current sunlight every day,
Yeah.
it will charge, and they'll run for a while. They'll run for months.
Oh, wow.
But the limitation is the cameras that are in here will only accept somewhere between a 2 and an 8 gig SD card. Well, if it's taking high quality pictures, right, within 2 weeks the card is full, and once the camera card is full, it will not overwrite the previous images, so it stops working.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we've had with these. So what we were trying to do is figure out a way instead of, and the new version of this camera is now somewhere around $6,500, and it basically does the same thing except it has a little larger SD capacity and a better flash. So we were trying to figure out a way that we could accomplish the same goal with a cheaper version of this. So what we've actually done is we've gutted a couple of these cameras, and we found cameras that actually work. This one is made by Browning. This is basically a trail camera like hunters use to find out their deer running through their property. The IR range, which is the infrared range, and motion detector are about 40 feet longer than the camera, the Q-Star cameras. This one will hold up to a 64 gig SD card, and this one will hold up to 128 gig SD card. So we actually deployed some of these, put them out just to see what they would do. I'll pass this around if you want to look. And they will shoot up to a 20 megapixel picture, where the cameras that are in here are somewhere around 8 to 10 megapixel. So that's just basically the quality of the shot that it takes. It does time code the pictures, so we know exactly when they were taken.
I can read that license plate.
Yeah.
Right, so you can read the license plate fine. You can actually see faces. There's a gentleman emptying his trash. You can see how well it picks everything up. And that was from a $229 camera we purchased at Cabela's with a $30 SD card and about $10 in batteries. These use what are called CR123s. It's a little small lithium battery. They're a little pricey compared to this camera that uses 8 AA batteries.
How long do the batteries
Yeah, how
last
long
on each
does-
camera?
So I talked to Browning. Browning says 9 months. With one of these, that's in normal traffic, so probably in an urban environment where we have these and you have a lot of traffic, still probably somewhere around 3 months
Okay.
on a pack of AA batteries.
So we souped this up a little bit, and you save a lot of money in the
Right.
process.
And you get better pictures.
And as
Right.
the attorneys in the room know, that we need the photos are the most important thing when we go into court.
Yeah.
So what we've actually met with a couple of the mechanics at Leclee Garage, and they were actually able to modify this panel for us where we can mount the camera inside of here. Now we've got a couple different prototypes. One actually has plexiglass in it. Another one is actually an all metal front that just exposes the IR, which are the flash, the lens, and the motion detector. So the camera's completely covered. We've painted some of them black so they're a little less noticeable. And then we've also ordered some blinking red and blue solar powered LED lights. So if we have an area where, I know Alderman Flowers has an area where people are dumping all the time, we can actually put those up and they'll have the little red and blue flashing lights on the bottom. So it also works as a deterrent. When these guys go to dump, they look up and they see they're being photographed, and they don't know if the camera's being monitored from our real-time crime center or not, but they do see those red and blue lights, and I'm pretty sure that would deter a lot of people from dumping.
Now, can you explain the reason why we wouldn't go to a license recognition camera or a real-time camera?
So the real-time crime center cameras, those are PTZ cameras, pan tilt zoom cameras. They can zoom in with those, rotate the cameras around and monitor those. The issue with those cameras are they're very expensive. They're anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to build a good PTZ camera. We have to pay Ameren UE $300 every time one of those cameras are installed. And the problem is they have to hardwire it into their pole to put it in. So if we move it from Alderman Flowers' ward to Alderman Boyd's ward, we have to pay $300 every time we move each camera, which is expensive. And then we also have to pay somewhere around $30 to $35 a month for the cellular service for that camera for it to be monitored from the real-time crime center. With these, we have no overhead costs other than batteries and SD cards.
For this task, this is the camera to go with. Most economical. We move around quickly from place to place.
And we can get these up in a matter of an hour. If someone says, hey, if one of us are in the office or one of the other officers working with us, if we need a camera up, we can grab one off the shelf, put an SD card in it, swap the batteries out in it, take it out and deploy it, and it's up and running within an hour.
Why do you have to put them in those big boxes?
You finish your presentation, then we're gonna go
Yeah.
around and have every alderman ask a question.
So our reason for using or retrofitting the old cases are that these are weatherproof, they're pretty durable, and we already own them. Instead of reinventing the wheel and coming up with a new case, and we needed something that was adjustable, where we can actually mount the camera and then we can angle it where we want it. So if we want to shoot it down an alley, or if we want to shoot it at a certain dumpster or a certain lot, we need to be able to move it. The boxes are great for that. But like I said, just the cameras themselves are where we have the issue.
Thank you.
Okay, questions from the committee. Alderman Moore.
What is the assurance that you're gonna get the tag number this time? The old camera didn't work well. I got a dump, my ward has become the new city dump. And behind my office, there was some guys in the alley dumping. And I don't know who sent me that email asking me could I identify the characters that was dumping the trash. I mean, I know everybody in my ward, but what assures us you're gonna get that tag number?
I can't guarantee you will get the tag number, but I can tell you that the quality of the image on these cameras are much better than on the Q-Star cameras. And just from the test that we've done with it, we were able to read probably 90% of the license plates on the cars that we photographed coming in and out of the alleys.
How long have you guys known that those cameras were bad?
We took over last year,
Late November?
and when we met with Patrick, who works, one of the gentlemen works in the street division, gave us the cameras. We actually went out, installed some of the cameras, and we found out then that we were having issues with them.
How many will this money buy?
We have over 100 of them. I don't really know if we're gonna.
We have to ask Todd, he's probably gonna do it better.
Yeah, I think in 2010, we bought about 120 of them.
Is this enough money to retrofit every camera is the question?
Absolutely, they need $500 to $700 for the parts of camera, and there's $1,000 a camera in there.
Okay.
So they have room, because we wanna see them succeed. So there's $100,000 in there to retrofit 100 old cameras.
How will we understand, how will they be shared per ward?
Well, that's gonna complaint by complaint basis. You call it in, we'll put it up if we got it.
So I can get as many as I want?
If we got them, we'll put them up.
Can we buy them out of block grant fund?
That's a question you'll have to ask Todd. Can you buy them out of block grant funds?
Yeah, I don't know that answer, but, 100 of them's gonna keep them busy. I think the other question that the chairman had was staffing, and I think we need to talk about that a little bit, because you can have them, but you need to move them
Yeah,
around.
so that's what I'm talking, I gotta have one full-time person that's gonna be able to take your complaints, take the complaints from the citizens in the neighborhood. So, as I have one now, I'm gonna do some staffing changes and have a new person that's in there that's gonna be responsive to you, your needs, your constituents' needs, as well as go to your neighborhood meetings, have an office phone that they can contact them, and, as well as directly, not only with CSB, but with email, so that we can re-educate how to call the complaints in. Now, the overtime portion of it, the 3 people overtime, I'll have one person that we started a month ago that works specifically on CSB complaints. I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of CSB complaints that were left me and that nobody had looked at for quite some time, that we're digging through. And I think it's important and imperative that we have somebody that does that in a more timely manner, so that the citizens feel that when they're calling something in, there's an action taken. So the other 2 overtime personnel would be, and I envision Luther and Lou doing this on overtime, is they're the ones that are gonna go up, put the camera up, take the camera down, move the cameras around, and also assist that full-time person with regards to the investigations, the ones that we have, credible information as far as a picture of a plate or a witness, those type, when we triage these calls, those are the ones that we need to get to on top of first.
Like I said, my ward is the new city dump. And the program has failed so far. Instead of decreasing, the trash dumping has increased. I like you as a person, but this is strictly business, and that project is not working well in my ward at all. It is hideous and it's very shameful, and the city should be ashamed of themselves, the way they have conducted their business and trying to get a trash task force, and the task is not being enforced. So I hope that this will help. I'm not for increasing my constituents' trash bill, but if I can get an assurance that this is gonna work in my ward, I need all 100 of those cameras.
No, I don't think you can get all 100 of them.
Pam don't need them.
The thing is, I got this assignment, late November of last year, and we're working our way through trying to come up with better business practices. So I completely understand that this hasn't been very effective in the last year and a half or 2 years. So give me the tools and we'll see what we can do with it.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Alderwoman Murphy.
So my understanding now, some of those gray boxes, they've been up all this time?
Yes, ma'am. There are
And I've never
actually,
seen any in my ward, and contrary to, because I kept dumping also,
so
illegal dumping.
when we started, there were
I've never seen them.
about 90 cameras that were up.
Okay.
We've taken down maybe 30, 35. There are a lot of them that have been up for a while. Some of them we actually pulled, and I hate to say it, but when we pulled the SD cards out of them, the pictures that were on the cameras were from 2011 and
I was gonna
2012.
say,
So those cameras were deployed and were put up somewhere and just left there.
We're still trying to locate cameras.
Right.
Okay, I was gonna say, I've never seen one on a pole in
Or
any
the
of my
cameras
alleys.
that we had that were put up, we're trying to find them and take them down.
And then my next question, which of the cameras do you prefer, that one or that one? Is it with the lithium battery or the other thing? The other battery?
They both work really well. They both have the same lens, the same IR infrared flash. This one will hold a larger SD card and works off of 8 batteries versus this one's off of 4. But we've gotten maybe even a combination of the two. And it's not really an issue. The only thing with this camera is, what you know about photography, but this has a tripod hole on the bottom of it where you can actually mount this. So we can, once we gut these, we actually mount this inside of this part of the camera and then it's inserted into the box. These do not. So we're working with a fabricator to try to come up with a mount for these where we can actually mount these inside of here. So what we've been doing for test purposes are we're either wire tying them or using some sort of a band strap just to get them in, to get them up to run. So
Just so you know, these guys have done this with their own money. So they purchased these and they're working these through with their own money to see what works best.
Thank you.
You know, okay. Alderman Kotar,
I have no further questions.
Alderwoman Boyd.
I have questions. I am as Alderman Moore, I am a dumping ground. And so my question is, how many cameras have you collected out of the 100 cameras that you say that we have? How many, because you say you're still looking for cameras.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
How many have you collected?
I think we have 30 something of them that we've pulled down between our office and Streets Division. The ones they've taken out, we have maybe 30, 35. There's still a lot of them out
So
there.
it's about 70 more cameras out there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so, and I know alleys in my ward that have the cameras, but they're not functioning. They don't work at all, and so that's why I was asking. So this trash task force program has, before Sergeant McLaughlin, it was given to him. When was this created?
I don't know the answer to that question.
How old is this program?
You know, the word trash task force, that was around even before 2010. We were getting a JAG grant, federal
Okay,
money.
yeah.
And so Ron Hasty was in charge of that.
Right.
And it was well before 10. I don't know when it started. But at
Okay.
that point, when we did the trash bill, I approached him and said, what do you need? And that's why in 10 we went out and we bought these cameras.
So
Just him and
then, when
Stuart.
it was created, how many task force people did we have?
They were paid secondary at the
Uh-huh.
time in 2010, and
Uh-huh.
it was Ron and I believe 3 other individuals were doing this on a part-time basis. So Ron was a full-time guy, and there was 3 part-time guys. And the thing took off, and then in 2013, the police department became part of ours, and that's when the issue came that we could no longer hire them as secondary.
Uh-huh.
We had to hire them on their own, and we had to pay them an overtime rate, and that depleted the account. And that's why they said in November they got it. So several months before that, the thing went defunct and the cameras started sitting around.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking these questions because, again, we're on this overtime, and I'm real adamant, that's a person and a part-time person that you could have for staffing. So, that's the first question. And then 3, the way the dumping has become in a lot of wards, and I'm not gonna just say North St. Louis, I'm gonna say in wards, period, because a lot of wards have picked up dumping where they normally didn't have excessive amount of dumping. Realistically, is 3 part-time people going to be able to handle this with the full-time people, the way the dumping is going citywide?
Okay, so the 2 part-time people are gonna be in the same office as the person who's the full-time person. They're gonna have constant communication. In addition to the person that's doing the CSB complaints. I believe that with successful prosecution, we will make a dent in this. So that being said, we have to have a good relationship and a good partnership with the city councilor's office, knowing what they need in those police reports to have success, to be successful in prosecuting these individuals.
Okay.
So, we have already reached out to Erica Zaza from the city councilor's office about what is needed in these police reports and what she needs to be successful in prosecution. I think what we talked, Luther and I talked about too, is we wanna make a big show with, some of these individuals who are chronic offenders and get the media involved when we lock somebody up for illegal dumping, cause we want, I think if the word gets out that the city means business about illegal dumping, that, we may be able to deter some of that.
So you still feel that the three part-time would be beneficial to, because I hear what you're saying, but I guess Sergeant McLaughlin, what I'm looking at, you're gonna have to hit it hard and fast first.
Right?
And I don't think the part-time people, not unless you're gonna give them more than, cause part-time is normally 20 hours a week, so you're gonna give them more than 20 hours a week
No,
per
they're gonna work
person?
between about 3-4 hours a week, 3 or 4 days a week.
So how many hours would that break down to?
So it could be 15 hours per person per week.
Okay, I respectfully disagree. I don't think you all can accomplish that with part-time people. I really don't, for you to have an input, because at the end of the day, I don't want you coming back at next budget and say, we need some more people, when if you get the people that you need and make a dent, then I think it will make a big difference. It's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I'm doing the very best with the resources that we have
Right,
available.
I understand,
So
yeah.
that's what we have, that's the
That,
plan.
and that was the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bosley, any questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you. How's everybody doing? I've got a few questions about the camera in particular. It looks like it has motion detection on it.
Yes.
Okay, and there are $1,000 per camera?
Well, I think that's the
That's
overall.
what you just,
That's what's in this budget before you, is $1,000 for the parts to repair it. They think they need significantly less than that. I wanted to make sure they had what they have, because it's kind of a new program, and you get hiccups.
Okay.
We want to see it succeed.
how much are you saying, how much is one camera without the extra help?
Just purchasing the camera.
Just one camera, plus, to install it, like how much is to install it? Because you already got the boxes.
Well, we
What I
gotta
remember from the last meeting.
retrofit the boxes. We
Right.
gotta retrofit these boxes.
So the cameras are around $200 to $229 just for the camera. We
Okay.
have batteries, SD cards for the cameras, and then we have to retrofit the box, and that's where we're not sure exactly what it's gonna cost, because the project cameras we're using now, we've been getting help from someone at the garage who's sort of helping us when they have free time. So we go down there in between lunch and other times where he can help us out with a cutter to actually, because these are metal cases.
Right.
So we can't just use a hacksaw, and we have to actually cut them with a plasma cutter, and then sort of create mounts and things for them to be able to install the cameras in there. So once we have a definite design, what we want to do, we have several different fabricators that will make the parts for us, where the process will be a lot faster. Where we can take the cameras to the garage, they can actually cut them out, and then we can go ahead and install the mounts and set them up, load the cameras, and they're ready to
So
go.
this guy's doing exactly what Luther's doing. He's doing it out of his own pocket, trying to help us out on his own time. So if you're looking for a guesstimate,
Yeah,
probably
just-
around maybe $300-400, or probably closer to $400. When you're thinking about batteries and cards and. for-
Like I said, we have no idea what the fabrication
Of
is
the
gonna
boxes.
cost us, right, for the parts for that. That might,
So it could be more than what we think it is.
I don't think it'll be more than $1,000.
Okay.
Because like I said, our biggest expense right now is the camera. So, like I said, it's gonna be the mount, the plates, things like that we're gonna need. I can't see them being,
I can't see it. either.
$800, right,
Yeah,
so-
especially just for the box and you
Right.
sticking it inside with a mount. So, with the camera itself being 229, once again, I just got a few more questions. It is a solar operated,
No, these are battery powered.
battery powered.
Yes.
How do you recharge it?
You just use lithium batteries.
Mr. Chairman, I can't hear the question being asked.
They're lithium batteries. We spoke with Browning. Browning assured us that most of these cameras and we'll get about 9 months on lithium batteries. So we figured in an urban environment where you have a lot of foot traffic and vehicle traffic, probably somewhere around 3 months on 8 AA batteries. You can actually see this is just basically what powers this camera.
Right, so in 8 months, let's say hypothetically speaking, after using them, well, let's say 3 months, because if we put them in urban areas or wherever we put them at, we all got dumping issues, so they could be used a lot. And, 3 months time span, if they were all to kind of start having, when we're at the time where the batteries need to be replaced, we'll have to get up there and kind of replace every single one of them. Is that worked into the employee salary also?
Mm-hmm, yep.
Okay, so
And how these are set up is, if I can show you, this is the housing for the camera. There's an elbow that comes off of this that actually mounts to the pole. These have a key that locks this section in. So what we'll do is, if we have an area where we have dumping and after 3 months, we still haven't had another incident, but the alderman says, hey, can you leave it up for another couple of months to see if we do catch something? What we can actually just do is drive out, unlock this, pull this section out. We don't have to replace batteries. We can take another camera, slide it in, lock it, and we're done with it, right?
Bring it home
Right.
and replace it.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the resolution on those?
They're 19 by 248. So it's full HD. And they'll also shoot if we have, if we
Why don't you
need
hand me
them.
your little, your tablet so he can see the picture. Yeah. We,
It's neat.
And the other advantage, of these cameras too, is that
pretty good.
if we have an area where we're getting dumping, we can also, if we set 2 of them up in an area, we could have one that would do still photos, we can have the other one do videos. It will do a 10-second video with a 0.4 second trigger time. So what it'll do is it'll shoot a 10-second video. If there's still movement, once it finishes that 10-second video, it will, within 0.4 seconds, it'll start shooting another video. So basically, you're gonna get video of what's going on from one camera, and you can have another camera that's doing still photos.
That's cool. So I thought, I remember when we last spoke, we said these were solar operated.
The old cameras are
The
solar
old ones
operated,
are.
right?
Okay.
But we are gonna use the solar option on some of them. The ones that we're gonna make sure that people are aware that there's a camera, we're gonna put a blue and red light up here to flash for deterrence. Not all of them, because we want some to be hidden.
Okay.
But there will be some that will be a deterrent camera.
Okay, you'll just be using what, the panel for power, for the lights?
For the lights, correct.
For the lights.
And actually, some of the lights we're looking at actually have their own panel, so we're stripping the panels off of majority of the cameras, but some of them actually, like I said, the newer lights we're looking at actually have a small solar panel built in.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. So when the cameras go dead, how are we to know that they are dead if nobody's called on that particular site?
The difference between the last camera program, where I had no idea where any of those things were, and now is we're the ones putting them up. We're the ones that are gonna know where they're at, and we know how long they last. We're the ones that are conducting investigations. We have to check with them regularly because we got the complaint for the dumping and make sure that, to see if we captured any evidence. So they're gonna be monitored more frequently, I guess that's the answer to the question.
Yeah, and just asking, cause I think with 4.2 cameras, well, it looks like 4 cameras for every ward with, what we had, 120 you said that we paid for the last time?
Yeah, there's roughly 100 some cameras out there.
Is that how many we'll have this time also, about
No,
120?
some of the housings have been damaged from Gunfire, there's some we have that have holes in them, mounts that have broken, rust, things like that. So we'll probably have somewhere around 100 or so housings that are usable.
Okay, so with that being said, if every alderman kind of asked for, you know, we all asked for a few cameras, I think we'd only be able to get about 3 of them a piece, because I think we all got at least 3 dump sites right now. We can think about it at the top of our minds.
53.
Like minimum is 3 dump sites. So I know I've seen people dump in one location and then go to a totally different location and dump next time because somebody may have looked out the window. So, you know, I think the issue with that is if, you know, you have one person who dumps in one area or just a few people who dump in this area and then they drive past and see a camera, you know, they may not want to dump there again. They'll just go somewhere else. And then we just take the camera, pick it up and move it somewhere else. And then they just go back to the other area when they see that camera isn't there anymore.
Right. And so,
So the point I'm getting to is, I think, if I remember correctly, the budget was $300,000 for the cameras. I know I think it's been amended, but $300,000, right? I think we need to focus more on that amount because I don't think 100 cameras is enough for the entire city. When it comes to dumping, I think it's easy to look up and see these boxes and just go to the other alley. But it's a deterrent when you see them in every other alley, or when you see enough people, like you said, being made an example out of.
right, I think that's gonna be where you're really gonna get your deterrent is once we start arresting people and it becomes public. Lou and I can tell you both, we work on the Animal Abuse Task Force. And once we started, we had several high-profile cases where people were receiving 4 to 6 years for torturing animals. It's kind of teetered off a little. We don't see as much of it as we used to because of that.
I
So
agree,
once the
but
court
I
started
don't think they
giving
can
out
look
some-
up and see the cameras though.
I'm sorry?
I said, I don't think they can look up doing the animal abuse and see cameras.
Oh, it's true, but
yeah,
I think it was just a deterrent having, once we start prosecuting people for this will deter some of that.
I agree. I just think if we're gonna put some funding behind it like we've done before, we should put a real adequate effort to make sure that we can kind of sew the problem up and be, you know, way more organized than we were the last time. We only had 120 cameras last time, and now we'll have 100. Of course, we got a few extra people to, you know, to help work them, but I think we still will have the same issue with less technology to work with. And, you know, also, with them being $229, I think it should be a way that we can look into possibly connecting them, at least the SD cards through Wi-Fi. It can make it a lot easier as far as being pickup. Familiar with Wi-Fi SD cards?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi SD cards do not work with these cameras. That was already part of our research.
Okay, so they
Do not work, no.
Okay, is that the only, I guess, camera that we feel like we can afford, pay for?
We have, so Cabela's, when I walk in the door, they all kind of look at me funny because I probably returned about 40 trail cameras. Because I'll go out and purchase 2 and I bring them back and we take them out and we set them up and we run test photos with them. And then we go, nope, these aren't gonna work, and we pack them back up and we take them back and we buy 2 more. So this is what we've come down to as far as trail cameras. These are the best cameras we've found. We actually found one other thing. We found a company, I think they're out of Massachusetts, called Reconics, and they sell basically a trail camera that's about $800, and they claim that it will do, you can use them for vandalism and trash dumping and everything else. We contacted them. They sent us 2 of their demo cameras for us to use. The first thing I did when we got the camera is open it up, and guess what? It's a Browning trail camera modified.
Same thing.
It's exactly, inside it says manufactured by Browning. So what they did was they went in and tweaked the software, the firmware, and the camera so it would do what they wanted to do, and then they raised the price by 300% and said, okay, here you go, and this is great for law enforcement.
And I will tell you that this man can do that.
So that's why we started looking at the Browning cameras after that, and they're far superior as far as picture quality, the IR lenses, the motion detecting, everything over a lot of the other cameras we looked at.
Okay. Well, I was just looking in terms of price, cause in terms of price, I think, once again, especially with the little bit of extra money, man, we can get a really nice bang for our buck. We can have the cameras tilting, turning, moving, really being able to see down the alley. I think you can see really good there, of course, but once again, if we're gonna invest in putting them up, and it only costs a little bit of money, technology is, it's forever changing, so it gets cheaper and cheaper. All the time. There are a lot of cameras out there. We got, I think it'd be nice if we can have some with some facial recognition or possibly that can identify license plates that we've seen before, send text messages to you all immediately if we have issues. I'm sure if you can go into the box and program the cameras, you can program them to send messages.
The issue we run into with cameras that will do that is the cost. It's about $300 a camera just to be able to tap it into UE. That's what they charge us for every pole. So for every camera you put up, and if you move it, they're going to charge you another $300. And then there's a $35 a month cellular service plan that goes with that camera that you have to pay. And then those cameras are a lot more expensive. The pan-tilt zoom cameras are anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000.
I definitely don't agree with them being $5 to $10 grand. That's overhead price, like you said. That's a manufactured camera. Any camera that's $5,000 to $10,000 if it ain't making movies. That's a lot of money for one camera. I just think we should look into ways of expanding and having more, because if we are having dumping sites and we got a lot of different problems in different areas, I don't think 4 is going to be enough for each ward to really make a large impact. I think that's just a nice way to drive past and let your friends know don't dump on this block.
And Alderman, this is gonna be a reoccurring fee, so that, first of all, we're not running the program now. So we'll get this in place, and then next year, we'll be able to allocate the money again. And then hopefully Luther and John, as they figure out that there's something better, because we'll still be receiving the same amount of money for the same purpose year after year.
So, will we be looking at updating them every year, though? I guess looking at different models. And yeah, that's another question. What is the model of these cameras? Name and model.
These are the
And manufacturer.
They're manufactured by Browning. One is the Recon. I've got all the information. So one's the Defender, which is this one, and this is the Recon Force Extreme camera.
I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, I have a few questions. Number one, Officer Hall, thank you for your due diligence and trying to retrofit these cameras so that we can use them and save on some costs. I think that's incredible, the work that you're doing. It struck me as kind of high, the pan tilt, $5,000. We're getting ready to put cameras across the city. We could probably get a pan tilt for like $2,700 or something, from what BPS told me. Maybe it's because I'm buying so many for this particular project, but they are pretty expensive. Even $2,700 is expensive to have a camera alley. So I have a few questions I'm going to ask. Number one, and this may be for Todd, but Sergeant McLaughlin, if we had a website where we would publish these pictures of people we can't identify in the alley and give a reward, we already have a reward system. Do you think that would be effective and people would go to it and maybe they'll notice somebody and
Sure.
send a,
It's a good idea.
Todd, you think that's something that we can,
So
the
back,
city could?
back in 10, we would get pictures of the person in the truck, we would post them at the operating departments, so the refuse division, when the guys would go on the street, they had them as hot lists, similar to people's pictures in the post office. And we had a little bit of luck with that, so there's a lot to maintain, so an electronic way on the website would be much better. We gotta make sure we can legally do that, but I can see us posting a link to our website and making it available or something, sure.
Yeah, I
If we
think-
can legally do it.
I would think so.
They're not guilty yet, so we got a
No, it's
question
a
there.
person of interest.
Well,
It's-
yeah, person of interest.
Yeah.
Interest, I like that.
Okay,
Certainly.
As Alderwoman Flower said, the police app is there and available, and, you know, we
I
can
use
use
the
that.
police app, the mobile app on the phone, and it may take a couple of hours, but they do respond to you if you leave your information to go check it out. I've tried it out a few times, pretty good.
okay.
But somebody's a chronic offender and we get it thrown on Twitter or Facebook and that, yeah, it's a great idea.
Okay, Todd, is it fair to really give an emergency clause without really putting it out there that this is coming? Or are we timing this whereby they'll have a couple months before it hit them with this new increase? Bill, next bill's coming out when? This won't pass before, next bill's what, July?
Well, they cycle through the city, so a third of the city gets a water and trash bill every month.
Oh, okay.
The city's broken into three pieces, north, central, and south. So it varies, you know, so every month, a bill comes to a third of the city.
So once if this is passed, it's immediate. So somebody may,
Is there an
Skip.
emergency clause in that one?
Yes.
yeah, I see, based on the amendment.
Yeah, we don't need that. We can strike that.
I didn't see
We can let it go. So the normal process would be you approve it, the mayor signs it after 10 days, and it takes 30 days to go in, I believe,
Right.
if I'm right.
Right.
So we can strike the emergency clause. If you note, in the Exhibit A, it's not a full year of funding. I was working with the budget director. So the idea is this thing would be implemented in the 1st of September. It would naturally go into play.
Okay.
It would naturally go into play when you lose your 10 days to wait for the mayor to sign it, and 30 more days. The first month that you go into play would be September 1.
Okay.
So you can strike that.
So the 112,
So those numbers on Exhibit A are based on 3/4 of a year.
okay,
Okay, we didn't have time to figure out which cycle is more.
Okay.
Understanding, you know, north, south, central, and the amount of trash bills we collect, they can vary a little bit. So rather than, you know, it'll be implemented for 10 months this year, there's 9 months worth of funding in that, on those ideas there.
okay. John, when you get the, oh, I'm sorry, Officer McLaughlin, when you get the CSB complaint, talk me through that process. What do you do?
We have to triage that. So I have an officer now that just started about a month ago. They have access to the CSB's system, and they look at the call and they see if there are factors that would be make it available for us to conduct an investigation. Is there a callback? Is there a witness? Is there a license plate? Somebody that's willing to talk to us. If we don't have those factors there, then we send that over to refuse for that to be cleaned up, okay?
Okay.
Now, if it's a constant problem in that particular area, we would then put a camera up in that area to try to catch somebody doing that.
Okay, so do you respond back to CSB so they can close it out?
Yes.
With a comment about there was no finding, we couldn't find anybody or whatever?
Yes,
or
sir.
it was just handled refuse, okay. And that all happens within a matter of days, weeks, months?
Well, right now, I'm telling you, we're playing catch-up. So,
Okay.
until we catch up, I envision once we do get caught up, that it would be much quicker than it is now.
Okay.
I would hope within a couple weeks that we'd be able to deal with that. What is the normal turnaround for CSB, 3-week period or 2-week period, I think?
It just depends on
depends
what
on-
department they're sending.
I mean, that would be my goal, to try to get within that range, yes.
You can set that with CSB, whatever your normal work protocol is, you can set it, it's 5 days, 10 days, whatever number you need that's respectful, so you give them a decent answer.
Okay, so a 911 call for dumping, how do we respond to that?
How do the police respond to that? The police will respond to that if we have, again, somebody, if they have information with regards to a plate, or they know the person dumping, something like that. Otherwise, it's a stack assignment. Okay,
Okay.
meaning that I see somebody dumping out here, I don't have any further information, then they stack that call. Again, they go to the calls that are more
Okay.
priority, calls that are assaults, robberies.
So you weren't here last week, but I shared the story of me witnessing illegal dumping. I took photos, I followed the car, I called 911, and I knew they wouldn't get there before the person finished dumping. It only takes a matter of minutes. But no one ever called me back. That was at least 6 or 7 weeks ago. I left Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, was the person calling, and no one ever got back to me.
Well, I will tell you that's an improper response.
So how does that slip through the crack? Is it stacking up because it's a low priority call and someone just didn't get to it?
In that point, at that point, I'd have to check and see the call for service and see if it was a stack assignment.
Okay,
See what was going on in the district, whether they had other,
because we need to
Priority
fix
assignments.
that. That is a really, really big issue when constituents call and the police never ever show up. And it's one thing that the person is gone, but it makes us feel good if we at least see the police drove
Well, at
by,
least a call back.
took a look, maybe took a photo or whatever, you know, and if someone just dumps a bunch of debris, I mean, there's no addresses, and it's not like you cleaned out a house and you're gonna find some mail.
right.
You know, but we have to at least see that the
I
police responded.
agree. I make it a point in problem properties to make sure that everybody gets a call back, regardless of who it is.
Okay. Officer Hall, so you guys, some of said that you may have come up with 30-something housings, you're not sure how many is out there. Is it reasonable enough to believe you'll find 100?
We have a spreadsheet that lists some of the locations. So in the next couple of months, we're gonna go out and see if we can find those and pull them down. The rest of them is just sort of driving through alleys.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking to the street department when you made that comment earlier, and they think they got 50 or 60 of them in their storeroom.
Okay.
I think there's about 10 of them hanging up on their own that they gotta go locate.
Okay.
So I don't have that verified, but that was the supervisor's first blush was, there's 50 or 60 of them sitting in the garage.
And I tweeted out that if any citizen sees one in their alley, to go ahead and call the CSB.
Why don't we have data on those cameras? It shows the failure of the program, that we're not monitoring them if we don't know where they are, and we didn't know where they were. That is crazy that we got 70 cameras out there that we don't have an idea of where they are. So what's gonna prevent us from losing these cameras?
Well, I think what Officer Hall said, they have a spreadsheet, and they just need to go out there and verify if the cameras are still there. But I'm done with questions. I wanna ask committee, colleagues who are here, if they have any questions. So Alderman Flowers,
Yes, sir. I just want, I got a few questions to you. And I'm gonna put in my 3 cents since you're going to $3 instead of $2. I remember when this came up back in 2010, and I opted to get the recycle bins instead of the cameras, because it was only 3 or 4 at the time. Dumping in 2010 just took off and it's increased over the last 7 years. And the second ward, because I'm on the county and Illinois border, I beg to differ with you. You might be the new, but I'm the original. And I'm in constant communication with Luther and Amy and Sergeant Goggin, because it's just out of control. And there's one thing that I've asked Todd when he was street director, and I'm gonna pose to Mr. Rundy, and we've talked about it again. The city dumps, I believe, should be opened to people that don't necessarily live in the city at a small fee, maybe $40, and that they should be able to go more than once a month. I know city residents can go and dump once a month with proof of driver's license, and I'm not saying anything's happening, but I guarantee you, and I know it's happened because people have told me, they get to the dump and they check their license plate and they say, well, you can't dump here. And they say, well, here, oh, okay, well, you can dump. If it's happening, why not take the money? Why not charge them? Even if it's a small fee, we can collect money, we can let them dump. And I'm not saying every ignorant person, because they are ignorant when they do it. I got pictures of just loads of diapers on a private property that I know I'm not gonna be able to get picked up forever because it's private property and it's in a yard. But why not try to capitalize a little bit? Because when you're sending someone out, refuse to pick up, and it's $500 to get a front loader, 2 men, a truck or whatever, to continually pick up something that's gonna be redumped in a day, 2 days, or 3 days. Why don't we try to capitalize on some of the money? And let those people know that are just out there thinking, because I've actually stopped people and say, why are you doing it? They say, well, this is what you do in the city. You know, my NSI said, someone said, well, no, someone told us we can dump here. Well, it's an LRA property, I know the city didn't give them that permission. So I really think we should look into opening the dump to anyone, whether you live in a city or not, because I guarantee you, yes, there are people in the city that have these little businesses, hauling companies, grass cutting companies, clean out houses that just think because they live there, they can put it in their dumpster, or because they live in the city, they can put it in any dumpster, or they just don't care. Because if you have a block that has multiple vacant properties, and you have all these tall weeds and grass, and you have no one looking, and then you have someone that is smart enough to not have a license plate, or have a temporary tag, and once you get up on it, it says something obscene, you're not gonna catch them. And that's only in the alleys that have cameras. The alleys that don't have the cameras, those are the ones that they're gonna see the camera. Those that are smart and doing it on a daily basis gonna see the camera. And like you said, you're gonna go to another location. You're gonna be able to curve it for a moment, but they're just gonna go somewhere else. In the second ward, I have so many places off rivers and parks and alleys and industrial. They're just gonna find a new place. So I know we dealt with this with the MSD site in the Baton area. And I know we really tried. We have probably 300 barricades around those properties and need more. And I know it's something that Kent is not crazy about, but I know at one time they told us we can buy the barriers at $200. I don't care what they cost. I would really rather buy the cameras so that they can specifically stay in the second ward, so they can specifically monitor those chronic spots. And that way you can still move them around, but I would really be more interested if there's any way that we can buy. I know I'm gonna talk to you, so you're buying some with BPS. Every time I ask BPS, it's kind of like that question that they just run from. They don't know how to answer, can we buy the cameras? But I would be more interested in buying them and keeping them in the second ward. Now, I know that these officers, I know Sergeant McLaughlin, you all do a lot of things. You do the animal abuse, you do tobacco and alcohol enforcement, you're dealing with trash task force, you're dealing with problem properties. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't see how you got the time to go up on a pole and take out a card or place or move a camera. I just don't see that.
We do it.
I know you do it.
We do it.
But I know that the alderman, the chairman, has also put out there and asked people, what would you think? Would you be supportive of supporting a trash hike if we've got more trash task force people? And I know you're saying you're gonna have 2 part-time at 15 hours a week, 1 full-time that just started, and then 1 person, is that full-time person, the person that does the CSB?
No, it'll be 3 part-time, 1 with CSB.
3 part-time, 1 CSB, outside of the officers that already we're familiar with. So I think it's important that there be people added full-time. Because there's no way, I remember when Sergeant Hasty, I don't know how he did it, and they were overtime. And he was the 1 person for the entire city. And the second ward can keep him busy all year round. So I really think that they need more staff and they need more support to keep up with it, because it's getting out of hand. I think I can probably pitch this idea to my residents to support an increase, but right now they feel like they're not getting the trash service that they want. We can't talk to a trash truck driver and say anything or get them to do anything. It's not reported from a trash driver if there's dumping. We have to physically go out and do it, turn it in, and so on and so forth. And I think they feel, I mean, we had a meeting the other night, and they were ticked off that they didn't even get a notice from the assessor's office, even if their taxes didn't go up. They just felt like they were just being neglected altogether. So to justify it, Chairman, I think they need some more support. And I saw the responses to your Facebook and Twitter, and people said, yeah, they were willing to pay if it did have that support, because I think the problem is out of control. It's huge, and we are spending a lot of money and the refuse going out And then some folks that have the chronic dumping, there might be that lone person in that one particular area, after being picked up 3 or 4 times, then they get billed. They get
Right.
cited and then they can get billed if they don't report it as illegal.
Right.
And so we're back and forth with, okay, don't charge them, no charge me. And it's just, it's out of control. I can only imagine what the new aldermen are going through. I don't even know, you say you only got 3 spots?
Oh, no, I have a lot
Oh,
more.
okay.
I was just saying,
I
I
was saying,
was
wow.
keeping the numbers small.
Right. So I suggest, and that, I know that's not gonna go with this bill, but I suggest in the future that we look at opening the dump up. And we go ahead and get that money, even if it's little money, it's some money. And that the, problem property department, Sergeant McLaughlin should get a few more full-time
Right.
officers.
Not part-time.
Because it is a full-time job alone. Now, I'm passionate about animal abuse, and everybody knows that's me, I'm the dog lady. And I know they have a lot, I just got an email, I think mistakenly, about dog.
No, I sent that to you.
Oh, that, okay, so, you know, it's, there's a lot going on with them, and I commend them for what they do. But I just don't think that they can really, when we first did this $11, we didn't know and understand what it would be. And I remember then, like Alderman Carter he was just so excited about getting the cameras. But I was like, I want to recycle. Because I just think you can do better with trash. And I would probably, I don't know who picks up my recycle bin, but I know I'll make y'all a lot of money. Because I recycle everything. I know there are a lot of people that do, and we need to push that more in our wards. But the cameras is just something that if they're still hanging out there, and we're gonna retrofit, and according to what you just said, you're retrofitting them, and we may be able to get some. I just think you're being stretched quite a bit.
Right.
I'm gonna change personnel. I'm gonna have somebody in that's gonna be a little more energized, so I'm gonna try that out first in July. And every one of my officers that are in problem properties, particularly the units that you spoke of with regards to animal abuse and excise, they are for a reason, cross-trained, so they can do each other's jobs. So that's sort of, you know, we don't have dog abuse or animal abuse cases 24 hours a day, 7
Right.
days a week. Nor do we have, do we deal with excise stuff. So they're gonna be doing all 3 jobs. Okay, so sort of think about, I know I say overtime, but they're gonna sort of be full-time dealing with all those issues.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, you know, we're told that traffic, our captain gives traffic enforcement to officers that want overtime. And that there are some that do want it, but I don't see enough traffic enforcement, so apparently there's not enough officers willing to
Volunteering
do
to
it
do
because
that.
they're already
Well,
Stretched
stretched.
out,
true,
right.
but if
Or
you're in
doing
this
the
unit,
same.
if you're in this unit, it comes with the
Oh,
territory.
I know you,
work
I know
overtime.
you run your unit well.
So-
I'm just trying to get you the support that you need because technically the dumping is just out of control.
I just think you cutting your nose.
Right. Now, the other thing is, you know, Alderman, he asked about the CSB follow-up. So once you get a good plate and you got a witness or you have it on camera, so what do? You research the plate and then you go out and you look at this person. How do you
Speak
catch
to,
up with them?
speak to the caller who gave us the information, who, if they want to be spoken to, we speak to them. Then we research the plate, and then we go out, try to locate that person, or we put a warrant out for that person. As long as we have credible witness and or physical evidence.
But what if we don't? What if I get a call from a resident that said, I want a camera, and you all go put the camera in the system, because that's how you, in the alley, that's how it used to be. We had to then notify you that something happened to go look at the camera. It looked like it's the same thing. You gotta go get
We have
the
to do
card
that.
off, right?
Yep.
And so the person went to work or slept overnight, and overnight, there's a whole house dumped in the alley.
Mhm.
And so there is no witness, but you got it on the camera.
Right.
You
Okay.
just follow through with the license
Follow up.
plate and you have
Yes,
that.
Follow up, we pull the information off the camera and go from there.
So is that a housing court?
Yes, it is housing court. It depends, I mean, I think that there are some cases where it's so egregious that it could be moved up to state court, but that's very, very few and far between.
And so, if this person doesn't show up in housing court. I know some people that were caught in the past years ago, they used to make them come back and do community service and clean up where they dumped.
Yes.
But what is the penalty and fine now? What happens
So the
now?
maximum fine is $500, I believe, in city court. That's something that you, if you're interested in changing, it has, I think, to be done legislatively and with the vote of the people, which I'm wholeheartedly for, to raise those fines. But the difference between housing court as far as the building division's concerned and for the police department is that we have the ability to locate, find to social security numbers, date of births, things like that. So again, we conduct a thorough investigation.
So are they arrested?
They would be arrested
They're
or they'd be
arrested.
summons, one of the two,
Okay.
which
And
is basically the same thing. If we can find, if we catch them on site, we can tow the vehicle,
okay.
put a hold on the vehicle.
One thing that Ron Hasty did, which I thought was good, he gave us a email of just a bunch of pictures of the cars and trucks that were doing it chronically, and we were able to give that to our residents so that if they noticed this car or they saw this car in their area, or it was kind of shaming and putting them on blast. I would recommend that, I think on a monthly basis, if you gave that to the alderman, that we could share with our residents to be able to find out some of these perpetrators.
That would be something actually maybe that could go even the city's website.
Yeah.
So everyone has access to it and they can see that.
Yeah, I think that's something that
But
we
we
need to
gotta
start
keep,
putting out
you
there.
all have to keep remembering, you have a lot of people that don't use the internet. So you gotta have something in hand.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
we-
that's good that you do the internet, but you got a lot of seniors that have no idea what about no internet. So we need to make sure we touch those people, because what I find a lot of times, that's who give you information.
Well, you can print those off.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, they're printable.
Yeah, I just printed it off and gave it to them, but I'll be perfectly honest, I don't check the city website that much
Right,
either.
that's what I'm
If you
saying.
send me an email, after you put it on the website, I appreciate
I
it.
think the idea of
Right.
using social media is probably
Yes.
something that we haven't really used yet. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good idea.
We need to start promoting social media, sharing it, and starting to shame these people,
Right,
because
right.
right now, you know, you can get a bench warrant, but, you know, you gotta get caught to have it be picked up. If it's a summons, they're not gonna go to court, they could and they could not. And if they're arrested, yeah, love that.
Now, I will tell you this, you guys know, we got an officer in Narc Patrol that does work with the city probation, or
Right.
the state probation,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we can also kick in city probation parole for cleanup too as well, just specifically for our illegal dumping. We just gotta talk to Eric Azaza, who can speak to the municipal judge. And then we can do the same down south, is what we do with Dave Kraft, he does the cleanups with Dave Kraft, so.
Thank you.
So we have a mechanism to deal with
They
that.
even have the youth probation parole that is doing that too.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would say in the
For
future,
community
if you
service.
could do something just to concentrate, just a hearing or so, just to concentrate on dumping, and the recommendations that we can make to the street department, and to refuge department as to how to arrest it, because, I mean, raising the fees, I know we need trash trucks, and I understand that, and I got no problem with that, but to justify it and not have something in place to try to stop it, it's just not gonna work out.
Yeah, I think so, that's a good idea, and I'm actually looking to, maybe go to a couple of departments and talk more about their process and procedures, so that we can learn more about it and how we can probably assist in helping them do their job a little more effective and efficient.
Thank you.
Okay, Marlene Davis, Alderwoman Davis, you have some?
Really quickly, first of all, let me just thank you all for what you do. It's incredible that we accomplish as much as we
Alderwoman
do.
Davis, would you mind sitting at the table?
I surely can, sir.
And if, you would like to speak, Alderman Muhammad, if you could come to the table, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. My only concern is the process and procedure. You're extremely valuable as a police officer, and your time installing something makes no sense to me at this point. If we're gonna have additional staff, that staff could be that entry-level tech kind of job, and let them go up there and do that free your time up to do those other things that nobody else can do but a police officer. And those salaries would be lower as well. And so, if we could consider that, I think it could we could accomplish more, save some money, and probably hire 2 more people instead of maybe 1 more person. And so it's just a way to think about staffing that. I want to make that suggestion to you. And one of the things I didn't realize was, until I was talking to someone a while ago, is that even Ameren now, with some of the work they do, they hire people with no experience because they can train them so fast. But now with the new, the graduates out of our tech schools and those kinds of things, they have enough experience to install. And I just want to see your valuable time spent differently. And so I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but it would be another way to look at structuring that to accomplish more. Okay? That was my only comment. Thank you.
Alrighty, see no one else, I'll entertain oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Vaccaro. I had asked if they would come to the table. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill 59.
Second.
So moved.
Been moved in second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Conway, Alderman Moore,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy, Alderman Coulter,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd.
Aye.
5 aye votes to pass.
Okay, Summer McLaughlin, it's very important to me that you have adequate staff to do your job well. As Alderwoman Flowers said, you guys are doing a lot. You're doing animal control, you're doing problem property, you're doing just a lot. And so I did talk to the chief, and I told him it was very important to me to help pass this bill and increase the fees that we need at least for full-time officers. You know, for trash task force, not for problem properties, not for liquor control, specifically for trash task force. Now, I do understand, he shared with me, and we all know it's hard finding police officers, but we can do it with overtime. So what I'm asking is that we pass an amendment, amendment number 2 defines trash task force. And the trash task force shall mean the unit of it says off-duty, but it should be police officer. Strike out off-duty. Shall mean the unit of police officers employed by the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department to specifically issue citations for dumping and littering violations in the city. Section 3 says, a portion of the new $3 fee shall be appropriated to fund an additional 4 full-time trash force officers. Okay, so let me be clear with the administration. The intent of the amendment is this is 4 additional officers. This is not to fund what's currently there so they can get more overtime. One thing about overtime, we can, you know, work people to exhaustion and they're not as effective as they should be. The intent is if Officer McLaughlin or whoever has that position, it's not about Officer McLaughlin, they would have 4 full-time officers. And I understand we're at a point where right now we have to grab some people for overtime. Once we get our staffing up, it is my hope that we will always have 4 police officers dedicated to trash.
Once we get our staffing up, I totally agree.
So we'll make sure we're on the same page. I don't see the budget director cringing, so that makes me feel good.
I haven't seen what you wrote. I'm sorry.
So I'll take questions. Alderman Moore on the amendment.
No question.
Okay. Alderman Murphy.
No question.
Okay. Alderman Kotar.
No questions.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Bosley.
No questions.
Okay. So I move that we adopt amendment number 2 to Board Bill 59.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any objection to previous roll?
Previous roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Conway, Alderman Moore,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd.
Aye.
6 aye votes to pass.
Okay, if anybody wants to make the motion, I will entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 59 out of committee with a due pass recommendation. As amended.
I move to pass Board Bill 59 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved in second.
Previous roll.
Hearing no
Objection.
There's objection, please vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Conway, Alderman Moore,
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd.
Aye.
5 aye votes, 1 present.
Okay, by your vote, Board Bill 59 comes up, as amended, comes out of committee with due pass recommendation. Next Board Bill up, Officer, Hall.
Yes,
Do you have your
sir.
card on you?
I do not.
Okay, can you leave me your number, please?
Yes.
Okay. Next board bill before us is Board Bill number 40, sponsored by Alderman Vaccaro.
Another meeting.
I think
Always.
Do we get what we wanted? But I did not vote for the trash.
They
No,
didn't.
I don't want the camera, because I got camera, we got this, so they said that. That's why I said, when you vote for what time? That's why I thought, I think this will match well. As they already want, this is a dump. Procedurally, she said. Now, what is, oh, the first turn, okay.
Where'd Nolan go?
What they want to turn?
He left for next door.
Okay.
But in, so,
Okay, Alderman Vaccaro, Board Bill number 40.
Yeah, so I brought this up almost 4 weeks ago, and we sat back and waited to see if the parking commission would act on this. By state law, and Jack's attorney could speak to it, I'm sure, but you have 30 days to appeal, to make an appeal. And plus, then if you lose in court, you have an additional 30, in the city court or any municipality, you have 30 days to appeal that to, like in our case, be the 22nd judicial. The way this works now, you got 30 days, it says it on the ticket, but it doubles in 21 days. And what I'm saying is that thing can't double. You should have, what's under the full state law. I mean, we're going against state law when we do it anyway. So what I'm asking is that it goes to 30 days, where it can't double, that you have the right to make that appeal. And then if you lose, you have the additional 30 days, because again, it will double in 14 days if you don't pay it, which it still goes against your rights, because you have the right to appeal it to the state court within 30 days. And if you've ever gotten a ticket in a municipality, one of these small municipalities, you'd appreciate that, you have the right to do that. The only thing that different that I would do, and I'll just offer it on the floor if this goes through, is that the starting date would change, because I talked to Carl Phillips a little bit yesterday, not that he's supporting this, but he said they got enough tickets already printed that would go maybe 3 months out, so I would probably make the active date go out 3 or 4 months, so that as they order new tickets, that it would have the proper procedure. And this came to my attention, and I have to go through all my notes, but I got a call from a lady who actually paid it within the 21 days, went to their hearing, she won, and as of last week, she's still waiting for her money back. So, and it's money she should have never had to pay in the first place, more or less be waiting for it back. So I'm just open to questions. Like I said, I would like to see us do this. And I think since I'm really not an expert on law and our attorney had to leave, I probably would kind of defer to Alderman Coder, especially if what I'm saying is not factual.
Well, I think we went over this
Right.
about a month ago.
We did.
And the city council's office said they're of the opinion that the Board of Aldermen has a right to do this because it's not about increasing fees or fines.
Right.
So, and I'll yield to Alderman Kotar if he wants to talk more about
No,
this deal.
I mean, really, I think we've discussed this quite a bit. I mean, I think there's probably still the issue as to whether this is the authority of the parking commission or the board of aldermen, but I mean, if ultimately is the parking commission, so be it. I don't think there's any harm in passing this. I do think the alderman from the 23rd is correct. We could get just the timing in line. I mean, it's crazy that we're doubling fees before people have exhausted their appeals process, so I'm inclined to support this today.
Okay, let's go around the table and take questions. That's our unofficial legal opinion.
There,
Alderman Moore.
We're moving from 20 days to 30 days, is that correct?
right.
So
But that's
we-
state law.
That's within 30 days, and we're getting a 10-day extension on this.
Well, sort of. So let's just say, for whatever reason, we'll get away from a parking ticket. You get pulled over for a traffic ticket in some small town. You have 30 days in order to.
We're talking
appeal.
about parking tickets.
Well, I know, but I'm just, this is parking tickets, but it's unheard of that you would have to pay the fine before you even have due process, before you have the right to at least go in front of a court or a jury or something to say, gee, you know what, I didn't do that. Whether it's a parking ticket, a speeding ticket. So this brings it into what the law is. You have 30 days to appeal. And then even if you lose in court, you still have that right in a city or small municipality to appeal that to the state court.
Mr. Chairman, will we be able to question someone from the Treasurer's Department as to why it is the difficulty in between the 20 and the 30 days?
Well, we would be able to question somebody if they felt it was important enough, since it impacts their office, to be present, but they don't feel it's important enough with the absence of, unless Leonard is here to speak on their behalf, and he's certainly willing to take a seat at the table and speak.
I can do that, that's why I'm here.
Okay, well, did you sign up?
No,
Okay,
this is
all right. So let's get the questions, and then we'll have Leonard come up. Okay.
Okay, I'm finished with all of them.
Alderman Murphy,
No, I don't have any questions.
Alderman, okay, Alderman Boyd,
No, I thought we asked them.
okay, Alderman Bosley.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay, Leonard, if you wanna go up front.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as you know, we talked about this. It came up from the last meeting that was had about this particular bill. There was a commitment from our office to, one, not only look at the 21 versus 30-day issue, but to look at the entire adjudication process. This was discussed at the Parking Commission, which happened about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, which we said we would do. From there, our chief of staff had a meeting with our administrative hearing officers. So the ball is moving in at court. I would just respectfully ask for more time. If that's not an option today, I would ask for the members of the committee to not vote for this as of right now and there was still that question about whether or not the authority lies in the hands of the Board of Aldermen or the Parking Commission. There is no, the chairman serves on the Parking Commission, so that input will be there. That commitment has been followed up on, and so we're not looking to just piecemeal policy, but to look at every step of the administrative hearing process to see if there's a better, more effective way to do business, to make things easier for our citizens. So we are doing that. It's just going to take a little bit more time. I think the alderman, as he's already pointed out, Vaccaro, has been working with the members of our staff If a person was to adjudicate a ticket after that time frame, as he said, the person had paid, we will be more than happy to refund if a person paid before. That does not happen often in practice. If folks have those tickets, we did move originally when we first increased fines from 2 weeks to pay before your fees went up to 3 weeks. So we went from 14 days. So it would have gone up on the 15th day. We went from 14 to 21. So citizens do have a little bit more leeway there. And we're doing our due diligence, like I said, to make this entire process better. But that is going to take not just the input of members of the board or even staff in our office, but the actual adjudicators who are attorneys who oversee these hearings. They are there, so they get the complaints right there. They're talking with folks. They're talking with the citizens, so they'll hear, they know way more about that process and the complaints than I will hear, because a lot of times they can resolve those issues while the citizens are there before them. So that's where we are at this point. It's not that we don't agree or agree necessarily with what Alderman Vaccaro has raised here. I think the question just comes down to the timing, and we're just asking for more time, respectfully.
And I'd like to respond. So, I mean, if I could. So I would ask, and you're asking not to vote on it, I ask that you would vote, pass this through. I will put it on the informal calendar, and you got my word, only to come up as soon as we come back from summer break. And that gives you 3 months to take care of it. And if it's not taken care of, then we don't have to keep coming back to committee, starting all over. The thing with me, it's important that we get it done and done right. And I would respectfully ask that we pass this out of committee, and I will put it on the informal calendar, but I will take it off the informal calendar at the very first meeting when we come back in September. So I mean, we'll have all the summer long to figure it out. I know that our chairman's working on this, but at the same time, if we don't have the hammer out there, it's just gonna keep getting moved. Well, then in September, well, we need a little more time. Why don't we look for, I'd rather have the hammer out there, and I'd rather have it so that we're out of committee and it's sitting there, and then we just, and again, my word, I will put it on the I think it's second read, I will ask to have it put on the informal calendar. Nothing will happen until September when we come back. So I would respectfully ask that we pass this
Okay,
out.
Alderman Moore.
You said the city council has this?
I'm not for sure who exactly the alderman originally posed his question to. Our chief of staff and council did look into it. We also are getting opinions from outside council. I am not for sure if the Board of Aldermen actually has the authority to set forth policy. That has been a question here
We're gonna
for
find
the
that
parking
out.
division. Yes, sir.
How are we gonna find that out?
We'll give you that legal opinion.
Just about how we find everything out. We do it, and if they decide to sue us or challenge us,
Which is what
You
we're
know,
not
and
trying
that-
to
and
do,
that's
is to
what-
get into a legal
and that's-
fight with another
what
city
would happen.
department.
Joe, have
Because-
you requested that the legal counsel look at this?
I talked to Carl Phillips yesterday and explained to him, this is not
Call it
anything.
with the treasurer's department.
Right, he's the treasurer's office, he's their attorney. And I talked to him because this is not a thing, some people say, well, me and Tashara don't get along, this is something against her. It's not.
Who's
This-
making the determination as to,
Well, I asked our acting attorney, who's here now, and he feels we have the authority. And so did the chairman. So going off of our legal counsel to the Board of Aldermen, he says we have the authority, and I believe based off of what he says, we have that authority. I also would have to question, I know that when the fees went up, we had to vote on it here, so I don't know, so it had to come through us even when they raised the fees. We're the ones that voted a year ago to go up on the parking fees. So.
Mr. Johnson, do you feel that 30 days is too much leeway?
So I have not made an opinion on that personally. At this point, I think
How does the office feel?
the office feels that if we are going to set policies, for parking, that those should originate from the parking commission, as all other policies have originated from it. As the Alderman pointed out, if need be, many times those policies come before this board. I am not for sure on the fines and fees. I have to look back at that one. But we do, like I said, we are working on this actively. It's not like we're dragging our feet, but we just don't want to say, okay, let's do this 30-day thing here, and then next week, if Alderman Vaccaro finds something else in the administrative hearing process that he doesn't like, then we're looking at that. If the Alderman wants to make recommendations, which this one is already one, if there are other recommendations, as that committee is meeting and they're formulating new policy, I would respectfully ask that he give that authority to the parking commission as we interpret it in state law to do so.
Why are we going to Carl Phillips and the temporary clerk instead of going to the city attorney and getting it all?
Well, because he's our legal clerk, we don't go to them.
It would be seemingly it would be a bit of prejudice if we went to Carl and he would give an opinion for,
Well, no, I was just-
for the treasurer's office, and our attorney would give an opinion for us, and then we have another Mexican standoff.
Well, and I can only go according to our legal counsel.
Can we go to the city attorney?
Got to sit up there for 6 or 8 months. And he works for them. So, our attorney works technically for the city attorney's office.
And for us?
No, we voted him out last week. As of Friday, he won't be here.
Alderman Vaccaro, can we just keep?
I'm sorry.
That's not true.
So he'll be back upstairs, so.
That's not true. Come on, let's stay on this topic.
Okay, so, anyway, I don't have a real good answer. I'm going by by the attorney that represents us right now. And based off of what I'm being told by our legal counsel, that we have the authority to do this. And if we don't try to move on it, it's just gonna sit. And if I was the treasurer or the head of any department, of course, my legal opinion would be in my favor, and I would hope that as we look at this, that by putting that pressure on them, by passing this through, and again, my word to put it on the informal calendar, by putting this through, it does at least put a time clock on it. It isn't indefinite, where there's just gonna be another meeting and another meeting. It gives them time, and at the end of that time, if they all come back and say, look, we've fixed this at the street commission level, then yeah, this bill, there's no need for it to move forward. One way or the other, we need to do the right thing for the citizens, and I believe this is doing the right thing for the citizens.
Mr. Chairman, I think that instead of hemming and hawing around with this issue, it's too important that we should get a legal counsel from the city council, get a legal opinion as to who has the authority to make these moves and be done with it, instead of going back and forth from Carl Phillips to I used to be clerk or whatever. Go to the city council and get an opinion and get it done, because the issue is too important just to hem and haw around with. That's my opinion. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Alderwoman Murphy,
I don't have any questions.
Alderman Colcher,
No questions.
Alderwoman Boyd,
If he's willing to do that.
Alderman Bosley.
No questions.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I just want to make a quick
Go
statement.
right ahead, Alderman. You want to sit at the table?
Yes, sir, I forgot you wanted to do that. Let me, just, put something out here. Alderman Moore, has a very good point. But one of the things that all of us have not mentioned is that no department, whether it's county or city, that does business on behalf of the city of St. Louis has any authority above this legislative body. None. State statute doesn't give them any. I don't care who it is. The municipal courts, when they want to raise it, anybody has to come through here with legislation. It's real simple. I don't know why we're arguing about this. So what I would like to ask is that the research is done. It's online. It's very simple. Documents should be passed out to all members of the board that states those facts. You see, these offices do business for us. It is done for the city of St. Louis. It just so happened that back in the day, we created a county office in 3 different instances, and probably will, we no longer need that. When we were a larger city and other things were going on, and it goes back in history, but it needs to be changed now, it's just too complicated. So what I want to say to you is, all legislation dealing with any changing of rules, regulations, fines, anything dealing with the business of the city legally comes through this legislative body. It's just that simple. But I would hope that you would get the documents that actually share that with you. I don't think people should be arguing about that. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Okay. Here's how the process worked, Alderman Moore. You were absent at quite a few meetings, so we have to probably bring you up to
Thank you
speed.
for bringing that to my
But
attention,
this
Mr. Chairman.
conversation, we had this conversation early June, if not late May. And we had the public administrator, Carl Phillips. We had Jared Boyd, the chief of staff. We had, I think, the treasurer. But anyway, we had the conversation, and our legal opinion that was given to us, and we have to accept
By
our
whom?
legal opinion
By-
by Nolan Sharkey. Am I saying that right? Sharkey, who also works for the city councilor's office, by the way. And so we've been through this process. Alderman Vaccaro asked the parking administrator, would they work on this and get it fixed? They said they would do that. I do sit on the parking commission at the June 8th parking commission meeting. I brought it up, asked about it. I was told we'll probably get to it by the end of the summer. I let them know that the board bill is still in committee and the alderman was being kind.
He was told that they'd get to it by.
Yeah, resolve
Treasurer's
this.
office.
And as Mr. Johnson said, probably some other adjudication issues as well, by the end of the summer. The challenge is when a constituent has a concern, and it's a valid concern, it should have a quick fix. Now, what it does is it bubbles up other issues that we may need to fix. So I can appreciate the parking commission doing its due diligence to make modifications to the process, which is probably long overdue. But at the end of the day, when you have an elected official that's trying to work with you, that's asking you to do something in the best interest of the constituency, I would think that would be a sense of urgency. That is not how it works in the parking division. The sense of urgency is based on the leadership, period. I am a parking commissioner. I've asked for documents. As a parking commissioner, I can't get documents on time. I'm still waiting on several pieces of documentation. As a parking commissioner, did you hear what I said, Alderman Moore?
It sounds personal.
No, it sounds about business. As a parking commissioner, I can't get information. So if a parking commissioner can't get information, if there's unwillingness by an alderman to work things out, we are the legislative body. And at the end of the day, we have to take in consideration our legal opinion. Now, it was my hope, and I expressed this, let's fix it at the parking commission. That is what I asked for. And it kind of fell on deaf ears until after the summer. And we cannot continue to do business like that. We have to be about the people's business. I personally, after hearing the legal opinion, I don't have a problem with this. I will hope the parking division can do better. But at the end of the day, I'm in support of this. And I'm gonna ask that we pass it out with a due pass recommendation. I make the motion, we pass Board Bill 40 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Conway, Alderman Moore,
No,
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd,
Aye.
5 aye votes, 1 no vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, member of the board. And I will, like I said, get a second, put it on the informal calendar, which gives them the summer that, and Alderman Moore, just so you know, we did this, we moved this, in other words, I introduced this a while
I
back.
missed a lot of meetings.
No, no, no.
Okay,
no.
we're gonna, Alderman, Vaccaro, we're gonna take up Board Bill 73, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis.
Okay, so we did that.
Yes, now we're on 73, let's be quick.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee.
Good morning.
Board Bill number 73 is an honorary request for a street name for Justine Petersen. As most of you know, that organization has been in existence for about almost 30 years now. But actually 20 years, 30 years ago is when I met Justine Petersen, so I knew her. So I'm just telling all my business.
Right.
But I knew her. She was a dynamic woman who had some great ideas to help those who needed help. But they're celebrating their 20th year of operation for the Justine Petersen's office, and it is located on North Grand at Windsor Place. We're asking to honorarily name the block between Grand and Spring, which is Windsor Place, right next door to the office, and in recognition of Justine Petersen. So we have on that particular block, the Justine Petersen's office and everything has everything but one parcel, and the one parcel, he just refuses to respond to them. So there wasn't any need, I thought, for a petition. The other side of the street has been bought by VA. So that's a part of that process over there. And so I didn't feel a need for a petition on this one, because there was not a lot of homeowners or anything involved with this. So if you so inclined, I would ask for your approval.
Okay, Alderman Moore.
Is Windsor north of Franklin?
Well,
Is it by the Veterans Hospital?
it is near the vet, it's really directly across the street where the high school is. Windsor Place is that street there if you were going west. And in that particular area, it's just one block of Windsor there. Then when you cross Spring, there's another private block of Windsor where we have built those new homes. But that's in the 18th Ward. So that would have to be the 3600 block.
Okay. That's all I have.
Alderwoman Murphy.
No question.
Alderman Kotar.
No questions.
Alderman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Bosley.
Is it in your water?
I can't say, I have to let him say it now.
From your
No,
daddy.
it's in the 19th
Is it in the 19th ward?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well,
That was good. That was really good.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 73 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
So,
It's been
So
moved by
moved.
Alderman Coder, second by Alderwoman Boyd. Request for let's see, are we done on previous one? No, we're not.
No.
Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Alderman Conway, Alderman Moore,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Kotar,
aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Chairman Boyd,
Aye.
6 aye votes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Board Bill 73 comes out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Next Board Bill is Board Bill 82, sponsored by Alderman Ogilvy.
82, I hear it.
80 or 82?
80.
So let's take 63. Let's go on. We'll take 63.
You want 63 first?
Okay.
You don't have it?
No, 63 is me.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's
Yeah.
Jack.
I
I'm
can
sorry.
wait.
No, yeah,
I'm
you're
here
at
anyway.
82, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know, somehow I
There
saw
it
your
is.
name on it.
I found it.
They're 82.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, we are good.
This bill would vacate about
4 inches of right-of-way on Columbia Avenue, because there is an apartment building there that was built within the right-of-way and encroaches on the right-of-way by about 4 inches, and the building is being sold, and for insurance reasons, the new owners do not want their building within the public right-of-way. So we are adjusting this so that the right-of-way will be at the edge of the building rather than having the building 4 inches into the right-of-way. This went through, they did the proper things where they submitted a petition for this. It went through BPS. BPS approved it. And here it is today.
There you go.
Okay, Alderman Moore.
Did you have to have a survey done?
The survey was done, yes.
Who paid for it?
The building owner paid for the survey.
So you're moving them out of the public right of way?
We're moving the public right-of-way out of the building.
Okay. So the public right of way is in the building a few inches?
It is, yes.
And how far are you moving it out?
Just to the edge of the building.
Just to the,
Yeah.
couldn't get them any more space?
Well, then you're on the sidewalk. Then I need more space. Yeah.
All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Alderwoman Murphy.
No questions.
Alderman Coulter.
No questions.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Bosley.
No question.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill
Right,
82 out of committee with a pass recommendation.
So
I'm
moved.
sorry.
Alderman Ogilvy, I noticed you here at 9 a.m. Have you been here for 2 hours for these 4 inches? For the move this thing 4 inches, to move it. I didn't mean, there was no implication there. That's commitment.
This
It's a
is
long
a
time to wait.
this
I
is
just
an important
appreciate
bill
it.
to a
Right.
constituent.
That's the only question I have.
Alderwoman
It's a
Spencer,
long
and
time.
if I had to stay here for 2 days to get it done, I'd be
Okay.
happy to be
That's
here.
commitment to this, to your constituency.
I'm just shocked that, how long ago did they build the building?
100 years ago.
And they built it on the right of way.
I mean, I think the surveying method's 100 years ago, and, not intentionally, I'm sure. I'm sure they intended to build it to the edge of the right-of-way. And, a modern survey shows that it's in the right, maybe the building moved, maybe the building crept over while nobody was looking.
Yeah, you heard builders walk, you didn't know that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 82 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
It's a move and second, hearing no objection to previous order, Board Bill 82 comes out of committee, due pass recommendation. The next board bill is sponsored by Alderman Spencer. We'll take up Board Bill 80.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill number 80 is a simple stop sign bill. This is a stop sign that was recommended. We conducted a traffic study in the 20th Ward, and the traffic study included looking at one-way streets and stop sign, and they recommended that we add a stop sign at Oregon and Cherokee. The reason being that every other intersection along Cherokee is a stop sign. There's an implied stop sign here, and it causes near accidents to not have one. I want to state for the record, I'm disappointed that a traffic study alone doesn't empower our street department to put a stop sign in. We have to consider it as a board bill, but nonetheless, here I am presenting you with the findings of the traffic study that we commissioned.
Okay, Alderman Moore.
No question.
Alderwoman Murphy.
No questions.
Alderman Coulter.
No question.
Alderman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Bosley.
No question.
Okay. Out of curiosity, who did the traffic study?
So when I commissioned the traffic study, it went through the Board of Public Service. They selected the engineering company. I didn't have any say in who was selected as the engineering company. It was CBB. We paid $25,000 to have this traffic study so that we wouldn't have to legislate stop signs, but here we are anyway, so. We got the traffic experts to weigh in, and they told us, put a stop sign here, so I'm doing my.
And who paid the $25,000?
That was Ward Capital. We don't have traffic engineers. I needed some guidance on one-way streets and stop sign implementation in the ward. Given that we don't have staffing in-house, we had to farm that out to a CBB company.
When did we start that?
A couple years ago, when I requested the traffic and Street Department look at the stop sign and other issues in the ward, they've suggested that if I want to take a look at things, I have to hire a traffic study. So I followed their recommendation and I did just that.
Please tell me you did more than looking at Oregon and Cherokee.
We looked at one-way streets in the ward.
Oh, you did your whole ward?
No, we did about 2/3 of the ward.
Okay.
I'm lucky I have a regular shaped ward for the most part, so, you know, we just kind of did a block area. We looked at one-way streets, and then we specifically looked at stop signs related to changing those one-way streets, and this particular stop sign was requested by the Business Association. I guess we're looking at about 2 years now, because the study took well over a year.
Now, was there any recommendation to remove any stop signs?
No.
Now, you know you're becoming a queen of stop signs.
I know, it's a really incredibly honorable designation to have.
Okay. Queen Carol.
Yes.
Okay.
Crown.
You know, I had I don't need to go there.
I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill out of 80, out of committee with due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection to previous roll, Board Bill 80 comes out of committee with due pass recommendation. Next Board Bill is Board Bill 81, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer.
This, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill 81 is the implementation of a stop sign in the intersection where the traffic study recommended the conversion of one-way streets into two-way traffic. And in converting those streets, the engineers recommended a four-way stop at this site.
Okay. Alderman Moore.
Is in your ward.
It's in my ward, baby. It's on the border of the 9th ward and the 20th ward. So I spoke with my colleague from the 9th, and he is sufficiently happy with the study to move forward with its recommendations.
Okay, he's eavesdropping, by the way.
I'll give it a thumbs up.
There he is.
Alderwoman Murphy.
No questions.
Alderman Kotor.
No questions.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Bosley.
No questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 81 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll. Move second. Hearing no objection to previous roll, Board Bill 81 comes out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Next Board Bill is Board Bill 63, sponsored by Alderman Kotor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill 63 is a bill to vacate a portion of an alley in the Lafayette Square neighborhood. It's an unused section of alley. It's needed to redevelop the Boris Mop Factory building, which is an old building, probably 6 or 7 stories tall, on the corner of Park Avenue and Dolman. The building's sort of between Dolman, which is the very edge of Lafayette Square, and Truman Parkway. Catty corner from it, to give you some perspective, would be A.T. Still's new dental facility, where they train dental students to provide dental care to folks without dental insurance. There's a proposal to turn this building, there's been many proposals. We finally have a developer who's purchased the building and is prepared to turn the building into market rate apartments. I want to say 40-something units. It has the support of the neighborhood. They've vetted the plans and they are in favor of this alley vacation. Again, this section of alley is sort of on the east side of the property. Sometimes they have maps with these. We don't have one, so I drew a crude map if you're interested in seeing it. This hatched section here would be the portion of alley we're talking about. Again, not used. This will allow them, I actually think they're going to use it as green space. Their parking is just to the north of the building, and I believe this will just be green space for the development. And then the neighborhood has put in wrought iron fencing here and some decorative features at the entry point at Park Avenue. Again, has the support of the neighborhood. This is non-controversial. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Okay, Alderman Moore.
No question.
Alderwoman Murphy.
No questions.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Bosley.
No questions.
Come on, Bob.
Okay,
Is it
I do
in
have a
this
question.
Go ahead.
This is in your ward.
It is. That's that checked. Yes.
All right.
Interestingly, across the street is in the 6th ward, but this is in the 7th ward.
Have you talked to the 6th ward?
She's aware of the project.
No further questions.
I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 63 out
So
of committee with
moved.
due pass
Second.
recommendation. It's been
Previous
moved and
roll.
second. Hearing no objection to previous roll, Board Bill 63 comes out of committee with due pass recommendation.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
One, as a street committee, there are some offices that we have responsibility. And I don't wanna say oversight, but like their board bills come to us, anything that deals with streets, lighting, refuse, and parking, it must come to the committee. And, those who were here heard it this morning about a recommendation to hold hearings with the street department. And I think it's very appropriate, because, you know, in our wards, we have lighting issues, we have issues with, you know, refuse being picked up, we're trying to clean that up with potentially increasing fees. And then, we have paving issues, potholes, and so on and so forth. So I will probably wanna try to have those hearings, you know, before the end of the year. Also, maybe having hearings about the parking division. Like I said, I'm struggling with trying to get information out of the parking division. And all the more, I don't want you to think that this is personal at all with anybody. It's all about business. People that know me know that I'm about business, and I'm about accountability. I appreciate transparency and delivering good constituent services.
Mr. Chairman,
So-
I'll try to make more meetings, but I'm having a difficult time getting in touch with the two people that run the street department, not Rundy, but, Kent
Ken Flay?
and Deanna.
Okay.
I cannot activate those two characters to do anything for my community.
Okay, and that's a good reason to have, hearings, to find out, you know, why is the communication a challenge? Because, you know, we trying to deliver constituent services, and we need to be able to get responses in a timely manner.
And Mr. Chairman, after I said it was personal, and you said it's personal to me, so you mentioned that yourself, so. Let's go back over the tape.
No, it's business to me, it's not personal.
You said personal.
Oh, I meant before you slipped, that's not right, it's never personal.
You slipped.
You know, what's personal is constituent services.
It's in your ward.
That's personal. Everything around, but I bring that up because next week I may introduce a resolution, to deal with the parking. If I can't get information in a timely manner, which is unacceptable as a parking commissioner and as the chairman of streets, then I will be introducing a resolution with subpoena powers to get the information that we need, and we'll just go and take a look at the operating procedures of the parking division and see what we can do to help make things better.
And the street department.
And the street department. We're gonna start with parking.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
sir.
with that, the meeting adjourned.
God bless America.
The problem with the street